Say you don't want marriage. Cool. If Leslie Jones does not want to get married, that's her business. Nobody has to want marriage. Nobody has to want submission. Nobody has to want traditional roles. And nobody has to want a husband, a ring, a shared last name, or a joint checking account. Fine. But saying marriage is not for me and saying marriage is legalized slavery are not the same statement. One is a preference, the other is a tantrum dressed in a blazer. And that is what gets me so mad. Because some people do not know how to simply reject a lifestyle. They have to morally condemn it. They cannot just say, no, thank you. They have to say anyone who wants this is a fool, a victim, or a traitor to womanhood. And that's not confidence, that's overcompensation. And young ladies, everything is not oppression. And thinking this way is the disease of modern thinking. Anything that requires sacrifice, you all equal to oppression. Anything that requires duty, you all equal that to control. And anything that requires a compromise it equals out to abuse for you all. And anything that asks you to think beyond yourself, you all consider that to be slavery. That is so silly. By that logic, parenting is slavery, and your parents were a slave to you. A mortgage is slavery, and your parents paying for a roof over your head was basically them in chains. A job equals slavery to you fools. Friendship is equal to slavery to some people like 2K. And taking care of your own mother when she gets old, I'm sure that you guys would consider that slavery too. At some point, you have to grow up and realize that responsibility is not the same thing as oppression. A commitment is not a cage just because you can't do whatever you want whenever the mood strikes you. That's just simply called adulthood. And a lot of these conversations are not actually about freedom. They are about immaturity dressed up in feminist vocabulary. The slavery comparison is just absurd. Marriage is not slavery. Say that again. Marriage is not slavery. Slavery is forced. Slavery is violent. Slavery is dehumanizing. Slavery is ownership of a human being. Marriage is a legal union entered by consent. Do not play in my face about this. And using the whip and chain language to describe a man wanting a traditional wife is not bold. It is grotesquely unserious. That imagery was part of the backlash because Leslie reportedly used exactly that comparison in the interview. And we have to say things like reportedly because maybe one day, I don't know, I think I snapped, Leslie will come back and say that AI did this. You do not become insightful by reaching out for the most inflammatory analogy possible. You become sloppy, you become reckless, you become the person in the conversation who wants gasps because you don't have precision.